This is the Retirement Solution Podcast with financial advisor Jon Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital.
I was laughing as we were coming on the air because you were serenading me with some Joe Cocker.
That's right. Yeah, it was the Wonder Years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was it? How did it go? What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me?
Does anybody else miss theme songs? Like I miss themes. Remember, and I can sing all of them from the 80s. The Golden Girls, I can sing it. I can serenade you now.
Brady Bunch, Wonder Years.
So good.
I mean, I do. I really do miss themes.
Law and
intros.
Order.
I remember when we used to do a themed intro on this show, 12, 13 years ago.
No, the kids don't tolerate it anymore. Get to the point.
We can't do it anymore.
Give us our information, John. You stop that music.
Do it now.
You give us that money news. Stop singing. No fun for you. We've all gotten way too intolerant of anything that takes up any of our time.
Instant gratification. Instant gratification.
Even Major League Sports. I mean, was it last season or 2 seasons ago when Major League Baseball started, added the pitcher's clock and everything because they were like, baseball games are lasting too long and we're losing spectators.
And I'm a baseball purist. But having said that,
yeah.
I love the rule
love it
changes.
too. I do too.
I really do. I can actually go to a game and not think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be here for the next 9 hours. It was terrible, right?
Like
so I love the fact that every once in a while, they get it right, and the game and then the changes of the game make it better. I still don't know how I feel about the kickoffs for NFL. I don't know if I like the new rule changes. It keeps people safer, so that's good. The baseball pitch clock,
into it,
fabulous.
Love
it.
Okay, so the reason why we were singing the songs going into it, I was wanting to bring this story to you about, the show The Wonder Years. If you're listening to this program because you're close to retirement, I love those videos we see online. If you remember, watching 90210 in junior high, it's probably time for you to get an anti-wrinkle cream. Those kinds of things. If you remember, oh gosh, if you had a Tamagotchi at any point, it's probably time for you to have a colonoscopy.
Sure. Isn't that unreal? And it's amazing, in this country, it doesn't really matter tremendously, the specific part of the cultures that we grew up in, whether they grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, or if they grew up in Tennessee, or if they grew up in Alaska or whatever. So many of us have the exact same feelings about music or television or arts or those types of things just because that's the way that the country was back then. Well,
people our age, of course, we have beloved memories of sweet little Kevin Arnold, a.k.a. Fred Savage. Just the darling of a generation. In the 1980s TV show The Wonder Years, watching Kevin Arnold go through all the challenges of adolescence, the love story of him and Winnie. Remember Winnie?
Winnie Cooper.
Sweet Winnie. So actually, this is conversations about his dad, though. I don't even remember his father's character. Jack Arnold is played by Dan Lauria. So in one scene, Jack was talking about what it feels like to be in the rat race.
I get up at 5 in the morning. I fight traffic. I bust my hump all day. I fight traffic again. And I come home. Then I pay my taxes. The end.
He just sounds like a barrel of laughs.
Wow.
We do all remember Jack Arnold not exactly being the guy we wanted to go to the party with from that TV show.
That is a very succinct concept of his day. There is absolutely no color added to that. That was pretty simple. But how many of us feel that way, or we start to feel that way when we get closer to thinking, man, maybe retirement, maybe I should really think about that. I've been listening to this guy on radio for years talk about retirement, and I never thought I was there. But you know what? All I do is wake up at 5 in the morning. I sit in traffic. I go to work. I come back. I sit in more traffic. I come home, and then I pay my taxes. How many of us feel that way from time to time? I feel that way from time to time.
Sure.
In between all of the Mike Tyson haymakers and the uppercuts that you feel like you take over the course of the day.
Yeah.
At one point in time, I think we're all going to be happy to say, I'm excited to maybe retire.
We all have days before we just feel like just trying to get to the end of the day.
Right.
And despite how diligent we are to pay our dues, to be responsible, we pay our taxes, we try to fall in line. Still, there's no guarantee we're not going to fall into tax traps later on. This is where you come in. And what you've talked about so much here on this radio program, John, when we talk about trying to do right by ourselves and trying to follow the rules, still common tax traps can sneak in. What are those that you see that you want people to have awareness of so we can work to avoid?
So there's a phrase that I use with a lot of new clients. In retirement, we go from being a taxpayer to in retirement, we're really more of a tax manager. Okay. Because when we're working, taxes mostly happen to us.
Right.
They come out of every paycheck and we don't have much to say about that. Now, in retirement, it's different because we potentially get to decide where the withdrawals come from, when, where, and in what order. And believe it or not, those decisions can completely swing your lifetime tax bill by 6 figures. No joke. So the question is that when we've been working and putting money into these accounts, we've been taxpayers. The question is do we understand what is our tax plan where we can become a tax manager and be very judicious, be really smart about how we take distributions from those various accounts? I know I've said on the show many different times, people are amazed when they're working. They say, oh, when I retire, my taxes will be even easier, because it'll be simple. Guys, other way around. When we're working, when we have our taxes to file, often, like we said, it already comes out from the employer, right? We didn't have a whole bunch of say in that. We could say how many dependents we had and the other deductions, but that kind of happens for us. And when we file our tax return, we're usually just putting on there a W-2, from the money we made and maybe the money our spouse made, and maybe we get some mortgage interest that we get credit for, but there's not a lot to it.
Right.
Now, when we retire, there's a good chance. I have clients that have 8 or 9 or 10 different income streams in retirement, which is fabulous for them. But believe it or not, that means they may potentially have 7 or 8 or 9 different tax issues based on where that income comes from and when they pull that money out.
Okay.
That's why being a tax manager or understanding we need our tax plan to manage that taxation for us is so important. And again, 6 figures is the low average. 6 figures of savings. 100,000, 300,000, 500,000. That's what we're talking about. And if we're really great savers, there's a possibility of 7 figures, $1 million or more of potential tax benefits that we could unlock if we understand how to manage that tax structure. So the biggest things that I see, and mainly because it's changed in our lifetime. So we were talking about the show running from 1988 to 1993. Believe it or not, Social Security was not even taxed in America until 1983. Did you know that, by the way? Social Security. So if you were talking, if you're in your 50s or over, and your parents or your grandparents were still working, in the early 80s, there's a good chance that they said, oh yeah, my Social Security, there's no taxes on that. That was true back then. But believe it or not, Ronald Reagan was trying to find out money. Where can they come up with money to pay for what he called back in the day Star Wars? Basically, can we put satellites up in space so we can basically look and find out how can we protect ourselves? At the time, it was from USSR, things like that, Cuba, so forth. Today, because they actually came up with that funding, it's because they tax Social Security, right?
Yeah.
So Social Security being taxed is one of the bigger issues that most people just don't pay attention to. They're unaware of it. And believe it or not, they used to, and when they came up with the taxes on Social Security, it was going to be for higher wage earners. Well, guys, now the lower tax bracket potentially may still even have to pay taxes on their Social Security. Up to 85% of our Social Security may be taxable. When people come to me, unfortunately, so many of them, they're not prepared for that. They don't realize that they're not going to get all of that check that they see that the government says, hey, you're entitled to this amount. They don't realize that they're going to pay marginal taxes against that. That is a big one, and that could potentially be avoided or at least planned for, right? Those are 2 big things. So number 1, understand your Social Security, if you want to have a good retirement, is probably going to be taxable in some way. The question is, in what ways can we exploit that so that you keep more of your money in your pocket when you need it? So that's one of the big things I see people messing up.
Okay.
Number 2, they have way too much of their savings in all tax-deferred buckets. That is a big one.
I would think that would be a lot of people that come to you, right? You were just talking about, we've been saving. A lot of people work for an employer. We saved to our 401ks.
Sure.
We show up to doorsteps retirement. We've saved $2.5 million in maybe 2 or 3 401ks, but there it is. Because that's what we were told to do. We didn't know how to do anything different.
And that was considered the right thing. Yeah. We get the company match. We avoided a little bit of taxation at that point in time, knowing that we're deferring that tax bill to later. Well, guess what? When we get close to retirement, guys, later, is now.
Yeah.
And the government has eyes on the prize too. They realize how much money are in all these 401k and all these traditional IRA accounts. And they are salivating saying, wow, that $2 trillion budget deficit we're currently running. Imagine how much of that we could fix if we could just get our greasy little paws on all that money that the American public has saved. Right. And so they have an eye on the prize too. But there are still many strategies out there where we can truly plan our withdrawal strategy in a way where we can pay tremendously less in taxes, tremendously less. There's actually a golden window of time from the time that we retire until age 73, where we can potentially do asset shifting and convert a lot of our assets in a place where, check this out, we will never pay taxes again on the growth of that account. Guys, that is a big one, especially with our government being nearly $40 trillion in debt and running budget deficits on top of that. My whole thing is we need to understand when might the government need our money and how can we shelter ourselves from having to give it all to them just because they're going broke with whatever nonsensical stuff that they're doing right now. Those are the two big ones that really I wanted to hit on. There is a third one, and that is understanding inherited IRAs. A lot of folks that we talk to, they have inherited IRAs from their parents or grandparents or whatever. Yeah. And the issue is that now you can't stretch it out forever. It's done in 10 years. If you're a high earner and you're thinking about retirement yourself, unfortunately, that's money you're going to have to pull out. And it may actually bump you into a higher tax bracket simply because you have to pull that money out. That is potentially avoidable, but we have to understand what are the workarounds to make that happen. Those three tax issues for the average bear can keep hundreds of thousands of dollars in our pocket if we get it right.
But if you get it wrong, all that money is going into the pocket of Uncle Sam.
And that's when we cry. That's when we cry and we sound like Jack Arnold from the Wonder Years. I just go and pay my taxes and I don't know, maybe I'll die one day. Whatever. Blah.
Do better. Be better. Have a better outlook than Jack Arnold. Jon Hicks, he and his team, they're here to help you with that. You can reach out to us. 502-317-0840 is the number to dial right now. A teammate standing by off the air, ready to answer your call and help you put a time on the calendar to start the conversation with Jon and his team. If you're over 59, if you've saved at least $500,000 of investable assets, want to offer you a full review on your savings. Complimentary. 502-317-0840. Give us a call right now to set a time on the calendar for that complimentary review of your savings and investments. That review that includes a tax strategy. 502-317-0840. Let's bottom line it real quick. You've done the hard work. You've gotten here with your nest egg. Kudos to you, because just that alone, I think, does not get recognized enough. What it is to save $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million, to have run a successful business that you have sold now for $10 million. I feel like we don't hang on that accomplishment enough, Jon. Like, we got up here, we're grinding through all the information, but like just taking a moment of pause.
It's funny because it never feels like success. Every time I talk to someone and they've done unbelievably well, they run a family company, they've done great. They may be getting a $20 or $30 million, buyout in the end or whatever. And here's what they say. It's like, Jon, it doesn't feel like success. There's so many things that I tripped over, so many things I messed up, so many things that I could have so much more if I had done this or this or this.
Hard on ourselves.
It's true, because we can remember all those times that we just got knocked down. The successful people, literally, they're the ones that just stood up one more time.
Right.
That's literally it. And they get recognized for that. Because I can't tell you how many times someone says, hey, Jon, you do a good job at this. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, I failed at that 837,000 times. I just stood up the 838th.
Yeah.
And somehow someone pats you on the back.
Yep.
But that's the way it feels, right? Because no one is ever, beside us every day as we're trying to gauge, hey, one day, can I retire? How much money can I spend? What can I do? Can I go to Italy? Or do I just have to, do, road trips to, Waukegan, Illinois? What can I do? No one's standing over us with a clipboard saying, no, you could absolutely do that. Right?
Enter Jon Hicks.
Right. Yeah, and my clipboard, unfortunately, I lost that a long time ago. Or it got shattered during the Rick Pitino era at U of L when he slammed it down for some reason, whatever it is. But so no one's ever giving us that positive affirmation. They just say, hey, keep doing this. And then we always feel like we get it wrong. But amazingly enough, people are out there doing the right things all the time. Every day. Yep. Every once in a while, it's just good to get a spot check. Hey, Is that the most efficient way to get there? Or can we save ourselves a bunch of misery just by doing it slightly differently?
Yeah.
And we never know until we ask for help, or we find out, or we see that great article and we decide to, follow it one day.
Jon and his team, they are here. If you are looking for some help, if you're looking for some perspective, if you're looking to understand what to do now that you have gotten this far and you don't want to make poor financial decisions as you get into retirement, you can call us right now to schedule some time on the calendar. 502-317-0840 is that number to dial. You can find us anytime at retirementsolutionradio.com. We are here for you to help you understand what your options are. And again, cheer you along. Sometimes you just need that pat on the back. You did great. You've made it this far. Let's get to work helping you know the direction that you are headed from this point. Because, as I was just saying, a misstep is not what we want to do. There are few things as humiliating, as so immediately humbling to any one person in the world than it is when you take a public fall. When you just full on eat it right there in front of the Kroger. Just full on. This happened to me. I was going to return some Amazon packages at UPS, and I had a big stack, and I was like this. And that curb that was about 4 inches took me out like.
Did you look back at it? Like, where on earth did that come from?
No,
that idiot thing just popped right up there.
Full on the ground, packages all around me. There was a guy in a pickup truck right there who was an older gentleman, and you could tell he would like put his car in a park, and I was like, I'm fine. I put the hand up. I was like, don't get out of the car, sir. I'm fine. It's mostly my ego. Good feeling though, knowing that I'm not alone. Comedian Ryan Hamilton, if you are not familiar with him, it's funny, he's made fun of himself. He sounds like Jerry Seinfeld, but it's not. His name's Ryan Hamilton. He had this similar experience. This is his recounting.
I fell down. It was significant. I'm calling it an adult fall. I fell on the streets of New York City. People were around. I mean, there was no denying it. Everyone asked, are you okay? Yes, but let me make this point. Has anyone ever answered no to are you okay in the history of falling down? My body was screaming I was not okay. And I still said, I'm fine. I want to die alone right here. Put the orange cones around me and leave me alone.
So accurate, though, on the I'm fine. Have you ever not just said I'm fine when people say, are you?
I mean, that's what you say every single time. It's like, I'm okay. I'm fine. Even if you're like your knee is falling off, right? And what is it about it? Why is it that is such a laughable thing when people get hurt that way? Every time I go to Roosters or one of these places with the kids and they have all the TVs on, usually like sports bar type environments.
They have that Chive TV
they always
on.
Have Chive TV.
I hate that channel.
Like that. I love it because I can't look away.
Okay.
I can't look away.
Yeah.
And so every time I see this thing, there's people just face planting directly in the glass, sliding doors and kids falling off, whatever. And it sounds so terrible, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're laughing. Watching a kid, with a wiffle ball bat, fall off of a trampoline. I'm like, I don't know why it's humorous because it seems so terrible. And yet we've been there. Almost every one of us have been there. We've seen it and we're like, oh my goodness, that is just so embarrassing. It's the embarrassment that kills us more than the actual pain. You
said two things. I think it's because we've all been there. So we're laughing at ourselves, not necessarily at that person that we're watching sacrifice. But you just said that kid. And that's the big difference. Because if they show an old person falling, not so funny. And this is what I want to talk to you about. Because when we are young and we fall in public, it's more of an ego bruise. When we are older, if we take a hard fall, it's a much harder consequence on our physical health. And the same can be said from a financial perspective. When we are young, we're in our 30s, if there's a market dip or we make a money mistake, we got time to bounce back. When we get to retirement, we're in our 50s, we're 60s, and a financial mistake would have a much bigger impact. We can't afford to make those mistakes. So what are they then? What are some trip-ups that we need to avoid in our 50s and 60s?
When we have a mistake and we kind of stumble in our 50s and 60s when it comes to finances, it's a little sneaky, right, Heather? Because nothing feels wrong yet. That's the issue. The paycheck's still coming in.
Okay.
The 401k statement, because we're usually feeding that 401k, we're putting money in. It typically grows on a quarterly basis. So, when you look at those things and we feel like we have time, we feel like even though, we're getting closer to retirement when we get into our 50s and early 60s, the thing that is it feels like we still have time. And here's the issue. Those little misses, those little stumbles, when no one else is looking, because no one else is looking.
Right.
No one else is looking for us to go, hey, I'm okay. I'm fine. Leave me be. I'm going to be okay. That's when things compound. That's the issue. That's why on this show, we've said so many different times, hey, every once in a while, it's good to just get a second opinion. Find out, is there a way to do it that's maybe a little different or more efficient, or takes into account, taxation, or takes into account growth without the possibility of huge devastating losses, or takes into account, income streams, right? All of those things, they're things that, again, they're sneaky because we don't realize that they could be a major problem. So what I would typically say is there's 3 things that I see most people doing where they can make an immediate improvement if they just understand that. Number 1 is taking advantage of the catch-up contributions. This is a big one, guys. There are not that many times that Congress is going to give us a gift. And this is one of them. It truly is a gift. And it happens so infrequently, and especially now with all the buffoonery going on in Congress and Senate, we really need to take advantage. But the catch-up contribution is huge. As soon as we turn 50, we can put more money into those accounts and defer taxation. This is huge. If you do this starting at age 50, that gives you 15 years. Assuming that most people, if they retire close to 65, that's 15 years. If you can add $7,500 or more, and we're going to talk about this here in a second, you can even add more. If you did that, you're talking 6 figures of more money by the time we retire. Guys, that shouldn't be missed. And on top of that, you get a tax break for putting into that. So this is a big one, right? This is huge. So to not be adding catch-up contributions is a big one. Now, I heard one guy told me one time, he said, John, here's the thing. I'm not behind. I've been putting 15% of my money away of what I make. I'm not behind. I thought catch-up contributions for when you're behind. No, ladies and gentlemen, catch-up contributions are not if you're behind. They're to make sure that you don't get behind.
Okay.
That is the point. It is just a tool, a bucket to put more money in that we can use to compound for future needs. So it's not about if we're behind. Don't think catch-up means that you've done something wrong. No, the smartest, greatest people out there when it comes to investing, they're utilizing this to save more money in taxes now, game the system correctly when it's time to pull the money out for taxes later. But here's the big thing. They have a much more reasonable assumption for when they can retire and how much money they can spend. That's what we want to focus on to make sure they don't run out. So that's number 1. Big thing.
Yep.
Number 2, on track. When people say, hey, am I on track? Guys, it's not a feeling. It's not a gut check. It's a number. It's literally a physical, mathematical.
I feel it. I feel on track.
I'm feeling good today, John. I'm feeling like I am a winner, chicken dinner.
My knees are feeling good. My shoulders are feeling good. Feeling good.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm feeling good about going to Kroger and get myself a bucket of chicken on the way home. I'm feeling good, John.
I'm on track.
But it's not a figure.
Yeah.
It's a number. And here's the thing, and I hear this all the time. John, I'm 55. We've been saving diligently. We're fine. We're fine. Hey, I got you, buddy. Listen, we're fine. By the way, the phrase "we're fine" can be the most expensive sentence in personal finances. That's not a joke. We're fine. What are we measuring? Because it's not an emotion, guys. It's math. It is straight math. And I talk to people all the time in their 50s, early 60s. They say, hey, we're doing okay. Guys, okay is not a plan. A plan should have a distinct set of instructions on what we do. And here's the big one. And when. When the market capitulates. When interest rate changes, because they all will. When Congress does something different down the road. When, not if. This is so important. And this is the difference between a hope and a prayer and a real plan. Feeling okay is a feeling, and we need math. The people that are allowed to retire on their terms use math first. And that math gives them an overwhelming feeling of not only do they think they're going to be okay, dang it, mathematically, we proved it.
Yep.
Not only can they do what they want, when they want, with who they want, they could potentially do it tomorrow, and that's big. So the first 2 things, number 1, make sure we're doing those catch-up contributions. Second thing, on track is not a feeling, it's a mathematical number. And here's the third one, healthcare costs. Guys, I can't tell you how many people I talk to in their 50s, and they're just going, yeah, I know it's going to be expensive. Guys, the number is real. Fidelity's number, $330,000 for a couple in their 60s. $330,000 over the course of their lifetime. This is crazy because that is after Medicare pays. This is true out of pocket. Most people just say, oh, there's no way that that's the truth. Sadly, it is. That can absolutely devastate or destroy good financial plans if we don't have an answer for that. We don't want that little stumble when no one's looking to end up causing major problems down the road. And this is where those second opinions can make the biggest difference before we get too late.
In the meantime, ask yourself this question. Next time the market takes a turn, will you know how to react? Hopefully, at least, react better than you did the last time.
No crying? Can we cry? No crying?
Hopefully, if they're here watching you on YouTube and following your advice, there won't be any of those tears.
Less crying. There we go.
Success.
That's okay. That's good.
Success. Mission accomplished. All right. So let's talk some psychology of money, because when it comes to markets, I don't have to explain to you, Jon, that's why there is so much turmoil when it comes to individual investors, because they react emotionally to market downturns. And you might think of yourself, okay, I've been through it. I'll know how to handle it better next time. Morgan Housel, somebody that you admire greatly. And do you know Morgan personally? Have you met Morgan?
Absolutely, yeah. So he was actually a huge part of the documentary that we did, and I was actually an executive producer of, about the psychology of spending and the psychology of money.
Yeah.
Unbelievably smart guy, unbelievably well-read. Crazily enough, even though he's written one of the best books ever about investing, he was really not a finance guy at all.
He's a reporter,
he's an author.
Isn't he?
He's truly an author, but he did great research to get really good information. And to be honest, The Psychology of Money, which is his book, is probably the best book on the psychology of money and investing that I've ever read.
Okay.
It's incredible. So good.
You heard it here
Smart
first
guy.
from Jon Hicks' mouth to your ears. So Morgan himself was talking about how you may or may not react in the next market downturn. It's probably going to, unfortunately, align more likely with how you reacted to the last one. This is Morgan Housel.
You cannot read a paper or look at a spreadsheet and change the amount of dopamine and cortisol in your brain. You can't do it. I think the best that we can do as individuals is look at our own personal financial past and realize that that is probably how we're going to roughly behave in the future. If you are the kind of person who panicked out of your stocks in 2008 or March of 2020, you are probably going to do it the next time. A lot of the evidence shows that we will not learn from these mistakes because it's easy to underestimate how quickly the emotions will come rushing back during the next surprise, during the next crisis.
So he's basically saying we can't logic our way into better behavior when things, particularly our market investments, get scary, when there's a big shift in the market. How should somebody think about their risk tolerance then as they get closer to retirement?
So risk tolerance is interesting, but what he just said there was unbelievable, right? What we're saying is we can't really change our internal wiring. So important to understand this, because I think so much of investing and finance is simple things to guide us. The problem is it's very hard for us to stick with it, right? It's not that it's complicated. It's not that it's rocket science. So many things say, hey, just buy the broad market, be diversified, and leave it alone. Think about how simple that is. You can almost put that on a bumper sticker. And the amazing thing is that if you're growing money over a long period of time, that's probably all you really have to do. Put the money in a diversified portfolio and never mess with it. And you're probably going to be okay. Here's the issue. How many of us can do that? Well, Dalbar does a study every year, and they basically say, none of us. None of us can do it. None of us can control our emotions when weird stuff is happening, right? That's one of those things. The biggest thing that I run into more often than not is people come up and they are exceptionally smart people. They are well-read. They have advanced degrees. They are unbelievably prepared mentally. And here's the issue. They perform just as poorly, if not worse, than the people that just don't ever pay attention to anything, because the market does not reward intelligence. It does not reward intellect at all. It rewards discipline. Discipline, discipline, discipline. So this is probably one of the greatest things that I can tell anyone today. It does not matter if you are a Mensa level genius or if you can barely tie your shoes. The point is that if you have a properly written plan that takes emotion out of context, you could potentially be a fabulous investor. I mean, a fabulous investor, simply because we can stick with something with discipline, right? So when we're looking at, retirement in general, there are a few different things. How we grow money is very different than when we're pulling money out, harvesting it. We now need to utilize that money that we've spent our whole lives putting into our 401ks and our IRAs and our other buckets. When it's time to pull that money out, Morgan Housel's also exactly right. He says that those weird things that happen in the markets can cause us to behave, unfortunately, very poorly. And however we behaved in 2008 or 2022, sadly, might be exactly how we behave going forward, right? So Heather, one of the things that I always want to make sure I bring up to people is, hey, just because you did well last time that there was a major downturn, in 2022 wasn't a major downturn. It was an uncomfortable year for most people because stocks went down and bonds went down at the same time. But you really kind of have to go all the way back to 2008 for a prolonged downturn. And most people, 2008 versus now, they were 20 years, younger back then. So now they're looking at saying, well, I remember how I reacted in 2008. Well, you may have been in your early 40s.
Right.
Now we're in our early 60s. Is that potentially different? Yes, very much so. So how we behave is going to be also based on how much time do we have, right? One of the things that I mentioned earlier, it was the idea that there's a lot of things that happen that we can't change because of our psychology, because of how we react to things. We can't unwire that. We can't change the dopamine and cortisol in our minds. Housel recognizes that probably more than anyone else.
If you've got questions about these things that you want to meet with Jon and his team about, give us a call. 502-317-0840 is our number to set a time on the calendar to start the conversation about reviewing your savings and investments, understanding your risk tolerance as you get into retirement. 502-317-0840. You can also go to retirementsolutionradio.com. All right. So what can we do? What do we need to do to adjust? Because I think that the other thing that probably doesn't get as much recognition as it should, it's not just how we react so emotionally to our money, which, by the way, completely understandable. How can you not? It's literally everything you've worked for your whole life. But also how much we need to emotionally shift in retirement. The mental requirement that so many of us are not prepared for, Jon, when it comes to retirement perspective.
Yeah. So everything changes when we decide that we're going to no longer, work for an income. Mm-hmm. When we have our money that we've saved and we want it to work for us to provide, a huge level of income for us in retirement so we can live. Here's the thing. Risk tolerance is emotional.
Yep.
So when I talk to someone and say, hey, on a 1 to 10 scale, where do you think you'd fall when it comes to risk? 1 being very conservative, maybe even all in the bank or under the mattress because you're just very uncomfortable. 10 being, hey, we want to actively try to beat the market. We want to do really, really, really well, and we're willing to take the ups and downs to do that. Guys, that's all emotional. A lot of people say, oh, I can handle the ups and downs. I can handle the risk tolerance. Here's the real question, though. It's not risk tolerance. It's risk capacity. How much risk can you actually accept going into retirement so that you don't blow it up? That is where most people don't make the difference because risk capacity is mathematical. People that say, I can handle the risk, it might be true psychologically. They can handle the ups and downs. The question is, can they stay retired if things go down and stay there for a sustained period of time? That uncovers the sequence of return risk where 2 people that retired with the same amount of money, let's say $1 million at age 65, and they start pulling out just $40,000 a year. Mm-hmm. That's just a 4% withdrawal. We hear all the time, people should be able to do the 4% rule. And we've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. We're not going to get into it today, but let's assume that would be correct. $40,000 a year. Amazingly enough, the year that each one of those people retired, the $1 million, $40,000 a year, depending on if you retired at a good time or a bad time, you could completely run out of money simply because of the markets around us. That is risk capacity. Can you afford to take the risk in order to maintain retirement? Most people can't at a certain level. So when we get to retirement, the whole idea is that we can't take as much risk because we don't have enough time to potentially wait it out for the market to come back. And it doesn't take that long. I mean, you can just go back to the year 2000, Heather. We had just gotten over Y2K. They thought the world was going to end. It did not end.
Y2K,
but unfortunately,
what a flashback. Oh my God.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So people kind of forgot a little bit about that, but it didn't mark the end of modern technology. Yeah. It did mark the end of one of the greater stock market run-ups that we'd seen when the dot-com boom became the dot-com bust. And so if someone had retired in 2000 with $1 million and they were just trying to pull out 4% a year, unfortunately, guys, they would have potentially run out of money if they went down in 2000, 2001, and then 2002 because they were still pulling that money out. Yeah. So when you're pulling money out of a losing portfolio, it basically adds fuel to the fire. And unfortunately, when we're spending that money to live off of, it's not in that account to rebound and to earn it back. And so that's how people can run out. So as we get closer to retirement or we're in retirement, it is so unbelievably important that we don't just use the psychology and that risk appetite to decide how much money we can pull out and for how long. We really need the math. We need risk capacity. And so the biggest way to make certain that we don't make poor decisions is by creating a disciplined plan that says exactly what we will do, not if the markets misbehave, but when they misbehave. How much of our money do we already have in safe before the correction? How much money in income can we pull out for those 2 or 3 or 4 years while we're underwater so that we're not pulling from the assets that have lost? And what do we do to get back on track? The whole game plan, the whole system that we should develop is based on exactly what we would do before it happens. Guys, that is the right plan. It's not 60% in stocks and 40% in bonds. That's not it at all. It's how much income can we pull out from safer assets for as long as we need to for the correction to finally turn back around. For many people, that's 2, 3, 4, 5 years. 5 years of income that we need to account for, right? Mm-hmm. And so we have to be certain. And the other thing that we can do, which is so important, we have to have different streams of income. We need more than just Social Security and money coming in from our investments. The best retirees have 3 to 5 completely separate income streams, whether they have a lake house and they Airbnb it, or they do part-time work, or they sell stuff on Etsy, or whatever they do. It doesn't matter. But if you have 3 to 5 completely different income streams, then downturns aren't as problematic, because we have other streams of income that we can use to stay retired where we're waiting for those markets to rebound. And ultimately, hopefully, we get the money back from those losses that we have. But psychology, guys, don't underestimate its power. It is the governing force of how we operate. It's like fight or flight. You know, some people are runners and some people are fighters. There are some times when we should not stand there to fight and other times when we should run much faster. The whole point is that we want the system that we develop when it comes to retirement income to handle that before we have to think about it, because we will make a poor choice. Psychology and investing, unfortunately, is like water and oil. We have to get the plan right so that we don't do it wrong.
If you have done well, if you've saved, but you're realizing that you have a lot of savings tied up in the market, you're worried about how a market downturn could affect your retirement, let's get to work helping you understand what your risk levels are now, what your tolerance is, and do they match up or do you need to adjust? 502-317-0840. Give us a call to set a time on the calendar. If you're over 59 and have saved at least $500,000 of investable assets, want to offer you a full risk review on those savings, complimentary. So call right now to begin that conversation about a risk review on your savings. 502-317-0840. That's 502-317-0840. So it's the weekend, you're out doing your errands. Maybe you bump into your old neighbor or coworker who's already retired and they're doing great. You see that friend, you see that neighbor, you see maybe a coworker that's been in retirement for a few years and they are doing great. They are just vacationing. They are hanging with their family. They are shoe shopping.
All the stuff you're supposed to do when you get retired.
Thank you. Isn't that what we all want?
That's the whole point.
And you were going, why? It's almost like suspicious. Why are they so happy?
How did they make that happen? Why do they seem so happy?
Win the lottery?
What is going on with them?
What's happening there? Suspicious. I do not trust. Here's the thing. There is a very good chance that they adopted at least 4 financial behaviors that we're going to tell you about. Maybe your friend, your coworker, your neighbor is not divulging, because a lot of people don't. I mean, we're never discuss religion, politics, or money, right? Like people don't talk about this stuff, so you just don't put it out there. We will here. So there's this article on gobankingrates.com talking about when you see somebody doing great in retirement and you're wondering what it is that they've done to let them live this way. 4 things.
Yeah.
1, saved aggressively.
Absolutely.
2, focused on income streams.
Income is the ultimate outcome for retirement. We have to have income streams. So
3, they thought out their risk level. And 4, they planned for unexpected expenses. Jon Hicks, your thoughts on these items? Do you agree? What would you add? What would you say you don't need to worry about so much?
Yeah. So when someone looks like they're having a really great retirement, there's probably 4 things they did. They saved aggressively. They focused on, hey, where can I get income from? How many different income streams can I create? Can I own a strip mall and then get income from that?
Yeah.
Can I do almost like your own banker where you loan your kids money and get a 5 or 6% interest rate on that? Why would you do it? Because it's still better than the bank for them. You're still showing them how to be responsible. It's not always a gift, and you can get income from that, right? Mm-hmm. That makes a tremendous amount of sense. No matter what it is, you sell stuff on Etsy, part-time work, but income streams, income is the ultimate outcome for us to stay retired. I mean, we can think about it all day long. How many professional athletes who have great careers, but then when they retire, they're only 36 years old, right? Because, if you're a basketball player and you're 36, you're ancient. And the point is that when they quit playing, can they afford to stay retired? Well, not if they've had 2 or 3 divorces. They made 7 or 8 terrible investment decisions. And, they basically were a basketball player when they were young and healthy. Now that we're older, they can't do the same. And so if income does not sustain, guys, they can't stay retired, right? Mm-hmm. So income streams is huge. Mm-hmm. The third one, they manage risk well, right? This is a big one. Once we get to the point where we need to think about, okay, this is the amount of money that we need to work on to give us an income for life, we need to reduce and manage that risk. It does not mean we put it all under the mattress. It doesn't mean we only do laddered CDs and in municipal bonds. It doesn't mean that at all. It means we have to know how much money do we need to protect so that we can stay retired. There is mathematically a number for almost every single human being out there that we need to make sure that we don't lose that amount of money in order for us to produce an income. It's just how it goes. Okay. And the last one is we have to plan for the unexpected because no one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. No one. And in this world right now with geopolitical issues, the administration who can send a tweet out on a dime and change the course of legislative processes. It can literally happen any day. We need to be prepared for the surprises so that they don't derail us, right? But Heather, those are the 4 things that almost everyone does well. But here's the crazy 2 things everyone has to decide in order before they do that. Number 1, how much is enough? The people that are truly happy in retirement, they already know how to estimate how much is enough. How much income do they really need to live off of? People say, I make $100,000 a year while I'm working, but in retirement, I can really live off 50. Well, guys, that's like saying, hey, I can retire today, but I'm going to retire and live in a refrigerator box down by the river because that just sounds great to me. That sounds horrible to me, by the way. So my whole thing is like, no, whatever you're used to living off of, let's see if we can't maintain that quality of lifestyle. You just don't have to go to work and punch a time clock anymore. Guys, that is enough for most people. So defining enough is important because also when we understand what enough is, then we don't do the dumb things of saying, well, I got $1 million today. When I'm gone, I want to have 7 million. That just means that you're the richest person in the graveyard. That's also, and I'm sorry, but it's true, that's a very stupid concept. That's just literally keeping up with the Joneses. Here's what would be much better. I would love to be able to retire the day that I want to. And on any given Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Sunday, I want to be able to look at my spouse or look to my friends and say, here's where I'm going to go today. Anyone want to go with me? Here's what I'm going to do today. Does anyone want to go? Guys, that is freedom. And freedom is power. And what a great country to be in to be able to do that. So defining enough is truly the most important part to me. Number 2, the reason that so many people are happy when they retire is cortisol. They don't create as much. They don't get as stressed. Things in life, if they've planned well, don't blow them up because they actually get to do those things they want to do. They don't have to wake up at 5:45 a.m. unless they like it. If they love the morning and they love having that cup of coffee or pot of coffee, first thing in the morning before anyone's up and messing with them, by all means, keep doing it. I mean, when we retire, maybe make it half calf or something like that. But the idea is that whatever it is that floats our boat, that's what we're going to do. And the happiest people are ones that don't have cortisol. That means that they're not stressing all the time. Poor financial planning, not having the right financial plan is the opposite effect. It will get that cortisol up. It will get you stressed out almost any given day. So we have to make sure we do that. How much is enough? And then how have we defined our investment strategy for retirement so that we can live the life we want? Those are the 2 big things, right? Those are the 2 big underlying things that when I see people, I'm like, oh man, they figured it out. They know that they don't need to have 20 million bucks in the bank when they go, and they have a stress-free plan. They know what the plan's going to do, even if they don't know what the economy is going to do. or the market's going to do,
Right.
or tax rates are going to do. That is unbelievably powerful.
Knowing how all of these things will work together in a plan for the years ahead. If you've got questions about this, you can reach out to Jon and the team at J. Hagan Capital by giving us a call at 502-317-0840. Call right now to set some time on the calendar, 502-317-0840, or the website retirementsolutionradio.com. What about tax strategy?
Yeah. So this is a big one. What I have found, though, is that even people that have saved very well, often, and even if they're very successful and if they're going to have a good retirement, most people do not have a proper tax plan. Guys, the amazing thing is a well-designed tax plan can put 6 figures, depending on how we've saved, maybe even 7 figures more, either in your pockets over the course of retirement or in your heirs' pockets. That's not a joke. And the crazy thing is it's not even very invasive. But typically, most people that I see, they have almost that ignorance is bliss thing. They don't have a tax plan. They feel like they have enough. They feel low stress, but they still don't have a tax plan, right? So that is one of the things that, no joke, I think 95% of Americans can probably stand to really talk to a good, skilled, holistic advisor on, do they have the right tax strategy, or do they even have one at all? And guys, just because we have a CPA or a bookkeeper or an accountant does not mean we have a tax plan. A tax plan should state simply, do I want to reduce taxes annually for my current needs over the, and consistently do that? Or does my tax plan, am I going to pay the least amount of taxes over my living life so that I can have the most money at the end of my life for healthcare needs, for a surviving spouse, or for the heirs, right? There's 2 completely different ways to do it. Some people say, hey, Jon, I want to maximize my deductions this year. I want to have all the money I can this year. That's fine. It's a little narrow-minded, in my opinion, because most people don't realize 6 or 7 figures is a tremendous amount of money to have saved by utilizing the tax code wisely. So tax planning is big. Unfortunately, not enough people do it. Everyone should, but that just simply starts with understanding, hey, what do we need to live off of? What do we want to do? And how do we want to exploit the tax structure correctly for your needs?
If you've got questions about how this might apply to your plan, give us a call, 502-317-0840, 502-317-0840, or go to retirementsolutionradio.com. I think that that's such an important point, how much more it can add to our savings, because something else I was reading recently was how the cost of medical coverage in our retirement and the cost of long-term care is starting to become more and more and more of an issue for folks getting into retirement and getting older. Understandably, we're living longer, so we got to wonder, and we've spoken before, Fidelity estimates over $300,000 of out-of-pocket expenses for a couple in their 60s today. That's how much they're estimated to spend themselves after Medicare coverage. Doesn't include long-term care. But just saying what you said, it's like that right there, like, meet with a retirement planner like you at J. Hagan Capital. Understand how much you could save in taxes. If you're worried about your medical coverage in retirement, that could be your plan.
And that's literally it, right? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
When we understand that there's 5 pillars to any properly done retirement plan. Number 1, how much protection do we need so that we can stay retired? Number 2, how much income can we create? What's the floor? And then what's the ceiling look like? If we really wanted to live high on the hog for the first 5 or 6 years of retirement, because we're going to be the youngest and the healthiest we're ever going to be, how can we do that in the first 6 years? Guys, that income plan is super important. Then to go down to the tax strategy. Why tax strategy? Guys, 6 to 7 figures are what we see the average great saver able to save over the course of their retirement. That is huge, because that can often offset the needs for a surviving spouse, which is wealth transfer, which is that 4th one, kind of estate planning, and the last one, which is healthcare. I can't tell you how many times that when I show someone, hey, I don't love long-term care insurance because I think it's very expensive. I think that most people who don't use it, it's a ripoff. And I have unfortunately seen insurance companies fight people to even reimburse them who had long-term care insurance. So I don't personally prefer long-term care. Having said that, to not plan for healthcare expenses, in my opinion, is malpractice.
Yeah.
We have to be certain, because that is something that can derail even the greatest savers.
Yeah.
It can absolutely derail their ability or their surviving spouse to have any money, and then certainly anything for the heirs. So those 5 things are critically important to make sure that we get it right. And if we don't have all 5 of those, unfortunately, we probably don't have a very great plan.
Let's begin the conversation helping you understand about your plan, your money, your future. It's retirementsolutionshow.com, or just click on the links we've got posted in the show notes.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solution Podcast with Jon Hicks. Begin the conversation about your savings plan with Jon and the team at J. Hagan Capital by visiting retirementsolutionradio.com. Be sure to listen to Jon's radio show, The Retirement Solution, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. on News Radio 840 WHAS.
J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is licensed in your state, please call 502-690-5635. J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through J. Hagan Capital, LLC, NPN number 1882794.